Count money, man. Stack riches. Try and told him I'm a beast blood.
What's up, gang? Welcome to the G.R.I.N.D. Simon Arias here. Get ready, it's a new day. What's up, gang? Welcome to another episode of the G.R.I.N.D. Get ready, it's a new day. Boom. And anybody that listens to the videos at all, if anybody watches the grind videos, one of my favorites is immigrant mentality and the mindset that some of the folks in America that have had unbelievable success, even though they were not from this country, came here, didn't really even speak the language, and you know, I mean, just not an even playing field, and they end up dominating. And there's just examples all over the place. Just and a lot of it is the mindset and the mentality of just needing an opportunity and willing to do whatever it takes. And so you know, Mario fits that mold. You know what I mean? Mario, when I hear immigrant, I think positive things. A lot of people hear negative things when they hear immigrant. Like people, like when you do stuff like this, in my experience with a lot of other people out there from other countries, is like I just got so much respect for the mindset because it's similar to the hustle. So it's similar to coming up the way we came up, where you got to be tough, you got to be mentally tough. Shit ain't gonna be good. You're not dealt a perfect hand. And those people I can definitely relate to amongst other people. But you know, this gentleman that's going to be talking to us today, that we're going to be interviewing, Mario Hajro, is a special cat. So I got introduced to Mario through my mentor Marcus Smith, and some of you know Marcus. And Mario, I believe, was in college, and he would drive for me and Marcus, and now he's a millionaire. So he went from a driver to a millionaire. Come on now. Okay, and so let's just start it off with that. Wow. So Mario, maybe would you mind just telling a little bit about who you are, your story, not only with the company but even before that, who you are.
Simon, I really, really appreciate the opportunity, and to me, it's mind blowing to know that I'm right here on your podcast, and to think about that I've made myself valuable enough that you would invite me on this podcast is just it makes me very excited, because I always try to keep myself humble. But a little bit about myself. So I've been in America since 2005. My mom brought my brother and I on 10,000 borrowed dollars that she got from her brother, my uncle, and she brought us to this country, to this amazing country, with a vision that my brother and I, we would have an opportunity to grow and get better and educate ourselves and just basically be successful here. But she didn't have a plan other than just getting here. We didn't speak a word English, at the time. So thanks to my mom's aunt and her husband, they actually found us housing. We stayed with them for about 2 months, and not only did they find us jobs, but they literally gave us a refrigerator full of food, because we really didn't have any money and we didn't know how we were going to be successful. We just basically came here. And we wanted to work hard, but we literally didn't speak a word English. So, we definitely have come a long way, but it wasn't easy starting out. And so little by little, I got my first job. My first job was a dishwasher. So I always like to joke around, call me Tony Montana. So my first
Tony.
So my first job was a dishwasher. It lasted for 3 days. I literally burned my finger grabbing one of the hot pans because I had no idea about washing dishes or how to do it.
Hilarious.
And so from there, I've had jobs as a toaster boy. I've had cleaning jobs, and I know you mentioned.
Did you say jobs as a toaster boy?
Man,
what the hell is a toaster boy, dog?
Listen to this. This is funny.
Have you ever heard of a toaster boy?
We're gonna learn now what the toaster does.
I've heard of poster boy. Yeah. No, what is it?
Watch this. So this is funny. So I worked at a diner, right? It's called My Friend's Deli in Lakewood, Ohio. And so the diner, basically, they were so structured with everything that they did. So they had the bus boys, they had the waiters, but they had someone who was, all their job was making toast. right? So I was so proud of that job that, I would always joke around and say I make the best toast, and I butter every single corner.
Oh, come on with it.
So that's pretty much what I did.
Now you still making that bread now, dog.
Come on, but it can't.
The toast maker.
The toast maker. That's amazing.
That's funny. Look
at that. You started with bread, doing it the right way. Now it's a lot of it. You know what I mean? Come on.
Hilarious. And so from that point on, I've cleaned offices. And, I actually used to work for Positively Cleveland at the time. But before I even got the office job, I used to clean those offices. But one of the vice presidents at the time of sales, Dan Williams, he actually, that's one of my guys, he actually saw how hard I worked. And he basically, they created a position for me to be a secretary. And so from that point on, when I got laid off of that position, that's when I got introduced to American Income Life.
Wow.
So one of my best friends at the time graduated from John Carroll University. And so he started working at American Income. And I had no idea what American Income was about. And I had no idea anything about insurance. So I started working. It took me 5 times to pass the test, but I just would not give up, right? And, so I started working at American Income, and I honestly had no idea what 100% commission position was. Mm-hmm. To be honest with you, for about 2 months into it, I thought I was getting paid hourly. I literally had no clue. And so basically, I jumped right into it. The scripts were laid out for me. The vision was casted for me. All I had to do is just put in the work. And but I always felt like I had a chip on my shoulder, right? So what I did was, after a year of working with American Income, I did very well. And, I decided to go back to school because I met my fiance at the time. And, I mean, my wife now, my girlfriend at the time, I met her, and she was actually getting her master's in accounting, and she talked about wanting to be a CPA, which she is now. And so I'm like, I need to step my education game up. So I decided to go back to school. And when I went back to school, Marcus Smith, my mentor, so he decided to keep me around. And all I was going to do is train other agents on making sales. So basically, I just had to go in the field with them, show them our business, show them the deal. While I get to do that, he also wanted to make sure that I made a little bit more money. So he had me drive him whenever he would go out to dinners, because I knew Cleveland very well. I used to go out a lot. So he would just have me drive. And anytime he would have a guest or one of his friends show up in town, I would be the driver. And so that was a huge opportunity for me, which I'm sure we're going to talk about that a little bit in detail. So, but for 5 years, all I did is just train other agents. And I saw a lot of people with a lot of potential, a lot of people with, a lot of work ethic that would come into this business and would succeed. And I saw a lot of individuals with lots of talent. However, they would fail.
Did your friend from John Carroll that introduced you to this opportunity, is he still with the company?
He's no longer with the company.
I knew it. As soon as you were telling me that, I knew it. And so there's a teaching point right there, not to knock him, because he may be in somewhere he's supposed to be. Correct. And maybe that's the direction that God is bringing him in. It doesn't mean that every person, but what I will say is it does show that, typically you'll pass up most people just by not quitting. Mm-hmm. And how much of this success game is about just don't stop when everybody else quits. When this person can't take the shit no more, you can go a little bit longer. When this person starts to, say screw this or gas out, you find a way to take another breath and move forward. And that's really more than, 80-90% of it is that. So that's just one example right there of how many people, if their friend don't do it, then they don't want to do it. Right. And you know what I mean? Right. And it's like, okay, maybe that's why he was here. He was supposed to intervene in divine intervention. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree with you more. And what allowed me to become successful so quick when I came back full time at American Income is exactly what you just mentioned. Well, I was actually, I got exposed to many different talents and I got exposed to many different individuals, but I actually got to see them fail, and I got people, I got to watch them grow, right? So for me, I know what needed to be done. So anyone that would try to be too smart than what the system is, they would fail. And all the ones that were very coachable and the grinders, they succeeded. So
Yes.
that's why I came back full time, so 3 years ago, and I was able to grow so quick to now being one of the agency owners in Southern California. So, but that's exactly the idea. I got the exposure on what not to do, and I got the exposure on what to do, and that's one of the main reasons why I was able to grow so quick.
Do you think having being an immigrant plays a part at all, if at all, in your success level?
So I would say being an immigrant has a huge part to being successful because I feel like many people in this country don't understand, the opportunity that they have, or maybe they're just so used to it and they're numb to it, right? So it's possible that they're very numb to it because for me, I know what's on the other side, right? So a lot of people fight the opportunity, right, based on what else is out there, right? What's on the other side. I came from the other side.
Amen.
So I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like not having opportunity. Here's what I always say, Simon. What I always say is there's 50 states, right? 50 states in America that speak the same language. My country, Albania, has 3 million people that live in it. If you drive 2 hours one direction, you're going to be in Greece. They don't speak the same language. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, you're not going to be able to conduct business with them.
Yes.
Whereas here you have all this population. It's such a huge population. You just got to grind.
Wow. Makes a lot of sense. Why would you think, immigrants, not all, but I mean, like I got a good friend, Emery, he's from Turkey. He's a beast I got a bunch. So why do you think that is that so many immigrants have come here and had success? More than even people that were born here. Like, why?
They grind, like what you do.
I feel like there's two types of immigrants, right? The ones that make it here and they think they arrived, right? They think that, we're comfortable because we're in a better country, we're in a better opportunity. And if we do just enough to be able to have a good lifestyle, they're going to be good. And there's going to be the ones who constantly remind themselves of where they came from to keep themselves humble, but constantly strive for greatness and constantly get better and better and better. So this is land of opportunities. So for me, I remind myself all the time that your mom borrowed $10,000, right? We had nothing. So I never look at my bank account and I never have a financial goal, because you will get that goal. I mean, you will hit that goal. You will get the money here eventually. But if money is your only goal in life, you will get there eventually. Then you're going to be very demotivated.
Yes.
So I try to constantly get better and better and better and help out as many people as possible. And so I always look for what's next, because I didn't come to this country to be average. My mom left her entire family behind in order for my brother and I to have this opportunity. So it would be literally me disrespecting my mom if I didn't try my best.
That's the way I look at it too.
Yeah.
And that's why Vasu's saying, who's another immigrant. I mean, his family was. His mom and dad barely speak the language. Sacrifice creates opportunity.
Crazy. So you came here in 2005 with your mom. Got $10,000 to come down here. 15 years you've been here. Just now, what, 2020? So when you started, you were driving for Marcus and Simon. How did that even like? And now, I mean, like, how did that even come about? Like, you're driving what? Nice cars, like all the good cars. Like what? Like, how did that?
So I always, I would always tell my wife that, being able to drive for Marcus and, when Simon would come in town, being able to drive for Simon, I would always tell her it's such an opportunity to be able to be around people that are very successful, because you get to see what they think. You get to see how they behave. And we're not talking about guys that, just inherited $1 million. We're talking about individuals that start from scratch and, developed the discipline and created a certain mindset and envisioned themselves to be where they are now. So just me being around these guys, I would get excited. I would miss on family events because Marcus would text me, hey, I have someone, someone in town. Can you drive me? He would literally text me 3 hours before. I would drop everything because of the fear of missing out on knowledge, the fear of missing out on the opportunity. So I looked at that driving job as not me earning for driving.
Correct.
I looked at that driving job as me getting the opportunity to just eavesdrop of what they're talking about. So like when Simon and Marcus, would communicate with each other, parts of it would be them, having fun, but 99% of it was them constantly talking about how much, they care about their people, and, they're constantly talking about how they're going to help others grow. And it's just, to me, I'm constantly eavesdropping. So I'm driving, but primarily I'm trying to soak up everything that they're talking about. So that's the way I looked at that position.
Boom. That's what me and you got in common, man. I'm his driver now too, and so many other things.
Let's go.
You know what I mean? So I'm waiting on that $1 million to come too, right? You know what I mean?
Think about this. How hard is it to drive with these guys when they pay for your dinners? You get to go hang out with them. They literally take care. You drive all the fancy cars, and you get to listen to them, rub shoulders with them. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, definitely a blessing.
And the thing about Perm is I get to be me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
for this
comfortable completely. He's known me for my whole life, so I don't need to worry about being someone that people expect me to be, or it's just like I'm just being me. You know what I mean? Which is what I try to do all the time.
He just never grew.
So what is
never?
So Simon,
bigger, just
he missed it.
So
he missed
Simon, I feel like at this point, I speak a little bit better English, but I still don't know what Perm is.
Okay.
Okay. Yes.
All right. Well, Perm. Okay.
He wants to know what Perm is. He says, "What does the PERM? What does the letter stand for?"
Okay, Perm. It stands for Perm. Well, I don't know if you ever seen Friday, the first Friday that ever came out with Ice Cube, Smoke Dogg, and all that. Have you ever seen that?
I've seen all 3 of them.
Okay. All right. So we're right here together now, right? Okay. Now you remember Big Perm, Big Worm that was driving the ice cream truck with the curls?
Yep.
I was kind of that guy. So I was kind of that guy. So I was in school at the time, and I was coming down the hall. This movie had just came out. I had banana curls, just like Worm.
Drove a pink Parisienne, pink car.
Came down, and this girl was like, "What's up, Big Perm, Big Worm?" And I was like, and it stuck. She kept calling me every day. "What up, Big Perm, Big Perm?" And it just got big, you know what I mean? So I was kind of that guy. So that's how it became that. I was driving the ice cream truck. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Man, oh man, I love it. I love it. All right, Big Perm.
Yep,
for sure.
Any memories stick out to you of your interaction as a driver with me and Marcus at all? I wonder which one sticks out to you.
Funny.
I have lots of memories, but I'm gonna mention 2 that I think are extremely important. Right. Well, one of them, it's hilarious to me because you calling Marcus Donald Duck, always had me going.
You used to love it. Because Marcus don't let people bust his chops, so I'm sure it's great to see someone bust his back. But I called Marcus Donald Duck because if you play that song, the Donald Duck theme song, who never starts an argument, who never would think of starting a fight, who gets stuck with all the bad luck, nobody but Donald. Like, if you really just listen to that, that's my dog, and he got a heart of gold, and he's an animal in business, freaking straight genius.
Come on.
And his temper, his fuse is like the fire, like the fireworks, the little ones. You know what I mean? And oh man, it's so fun for me to get him, all worked. When he gets all worked up and he starts acting like Donald Duck when his face turns red and smoke comes out of his ears and stuff. So that's where he got the nickname Donald Duck. What else?
I feel like that moment right there would have been a podcast, because you guys going back and forth because of the relationship that you have and knowing one another. That would be hilarious.
Shout out to Marcus on that one. Let's go.
Straight up comedy. And the part where it always it stuck with me is the level of discipline and patience that both you and Marcus had. So I remember, Simon, when you would constantly get calls from your leaders, and sometimes we know that business can be challenging, so sometimes your leaders could vent to you, but it's just not only did you focus on constantly motivating them and kind of pointing out areas of improvement, but even when you're off the call, like what really stood out to me most is that even when you're off the call, you constantly kept talking about the leader's potential, and you constantly would have conversation with Marcus about how great your people were. So just you always seeing the best in people, it's incredible to me, because this was like 3 years ago. True that. And just like 3-4 years ago, right?
Yes.
Look at your business now. Mm-hmm. Some of your leaders have literally doubled, tripled their income in just 2-3 years. But if you didn't handle things the way you did, right, maybe they wouldn't be here.
Right.
Maybe the business wouldn't be to where it is right now, right? So for me, it's constantly a reminder of maybe pushing the people, disciplining them. But when you get off that call, is really truly appreciating them and not really being annoyed by them. I don't think I've ever seen, and I've been around you a lot.
Do it. Come on.
I've been around you a lot. I don't think I've ever seen you get off the call and badmouth somebody. So it's always highlighting all of their goods and areas. So it almost seemed to me that you constantly kept reminding yourself of what this person is and what their potential is. I feel like that's what you were doing.
It started with Perm, because everybody used to wonder, they like, man, why you hanging around this dude? You know what I mean? Because Perm had a big old gold chain, and you know what I mean? And he was, you know what I mean? Like, man, you still rolling with Perm, look at him. You know what I mean? Big beard and everything. Like, So I just try to keep it real and 100%. See the best in everybody, because when you can get past the beard and being 400, 500 pounds. I mean, how many
come with the territory?
A ton? I don't know what you're up to. But when you can get past that, okay, you ain't 300,
325.
325. My ass.
Don't tell nobody. 325.
OG Perm.
OG, dog. Okay, great.
This guy.
Go ahead, Perm.
It's on me.
Go ahead. You want me to just carry the load here? Or, you know what I mean? What are you gonna do?
So I heard, my man, you made over $1 million, right?
Saved.
You say saved? You saved.
Big difference.
So you have $1 million right now. Like you have $1 million. You can go.
Actually, about a week ago, I literally
sent it to me.
Screenshots of my accounts and posted them. So I didn't make. So making and saving.
Oh, I love that.
This is something I learned from Simon Arias. It's one thing to make $1 million. It's another thing to save it, right? So in order to save it, you got to make a lot more than $1 million, right?
Amen.
So this was done in just 3 years.
3 years.
3 years of our business.
Yeah.
$1 million. Just so you know, now you told me right now that you didn't, this is saved, that you have it. I just want to know right now, we on there. Let me borrow $5, bro. Is that cool with you? I mean, you have it. It's here. Lend it to me whenever you want to get it. Just $5. You know what I mean? So,
you know what I think? I think, all that is when you're talking about, it's not how much you make, it's how much you save. There's a discipline that needs to be applied to that mindset. You know what I mean? And a lot of people lack that discipline to be able to do something like that. So is there any tips for people out there listening, and sometimes they got the mindset of you only live once, or I'm young, or or whatever, because all I do, we were just talking about Steve, how he's like, man, he's 30 some years old, and God bless him, he like runs his big purchases by me, and sometimes I tell him no. You know what I mean? I want him to save his money so he could have the power behind him, and because I know what it can do for you, because you start to be able to, when you're okay yourself, you really can take any little bit of left of selfishness out of yourself, because I mean, as humans, you got to survive. So there's still survival in you until you're financially free. There's even if you're a great person, there just has to be a percentage of you that focuses, on I got to make sure I'm okay.
Sure.
And so I feel like it takes the pressure off when you start to have that money set aside like that, because now you could just really just focus on the people, and the more that you help them get what they want, the more that you'll accidentally get more stuff and all that stuff. So what discipline tips or any tips could you give people to save money?
Absolutely. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I do have my degree in economic development, though. So there's some sort of a degree in economics there. But here's what I would always say: a lot of what I do is thanks to you, Simon, thanks to Marcus, because I feel like the new up and comers in this business, all of us that are succeeding now, and we're a product of your guys' leadership. So I feel like having that proper coaching, you're constantly preaching saving money. Matt Parks is constantly preaching about saving money. So for me, I always told myself, before I make a big purchase, I'm going to have a certain amount of money in the bank, right?
A lot too.
So I wanted to save $50,000 before I bought my S-Class, right? And then I would have Marcus and Matt Parks and say, why just 50,000? Why not 150,000 saved before you buy the car? And when you come from nothing, you're like, well, yeah, I don't know. I guess I had limitations in my head and in my thinking, and so literally I didn't have an answer to that question as to why not 150,000. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just do it, right? So I just basically, set a goal, and I just constantly remind myself of act as if you don't have any money. Don't look at the bank account, right? Because one of the biggest mistakes that people that come from no money, people that don't come from money makers, as soon as they get a little bit of money, they think they made it,
right?
And they start splurging.
100%.
Right? But the ones who are educated on how to manage money properly, right, they're always going to get better and better financially. So for me, number one is I tried not to make expensive purchases. And if I was going to, I would try to double the amount of savings that I had before I was going to make those purchases. So I feel like that part right there kept me grounded. Then the other part, Simon, you know what's crazy? In our business, sometimes the money can come so quick that if you put in the work that you couldn't spend it fast enough. And I was so busy working that where was I going to spend my money, right? If I'm constantly working. So I always tried to stay on the grind, and I constantly reminded myself of what I needed to do. So if I'm not spending it and I'm working, it's only going to grow and grow and grow.
Another thing that's, that sticks out about that process and story and all that is that, you had this $1 million saved before you became an agency owner out in California. So that's the beauty of our company is that you don't have to have a specific title, so to speak, in order to make that type of money, because you and I both know, there's agents, that are, don't have a team that are making a lot. You and I both seen people make 60, 70 grand in a month, 80 grand in a month, just sales wise. You know what I mean?
Let me say one thing to that, Simon. There's actually agents that are making $200,000-300,000. My brother, his first year in business, made over $300,000. So sure, there is agents that are making, $60,000-70,000, but there's also other agents that are making $200,000-300,000. And the difference is the work ethic. And that's really what separates the two, because everyone in our industry gets given the same playbook, right? So we get the same playbook, we have the same opportunity, yet to me, it's mind-boggling how you can have a top performer and an underperformer. It just doesn't make any sense.
And sometimes you don't know who it's going to be. Sometimes their top performer is someone you never thought was going to be your top performer.
And then boom.
Because they don't look the part. You know what I mean? Sure. They don't look the part, so you prejudge them. It's like, nah, he's too old, or it's, she's a girl, or he's too small, or this, or whatever. You start prejudging, and then all of a sudden, oftentimes, you know, in our company, you'll see the award winners and the ones that are winning, you know, maybe half of those people wouldn't be probably someone off the jump. You would think, oh, that's going to be their top, you know, their top performer there. So that, because it's all about the heart, you know, it's about your work ethic. It's about being coachable. It's about your heart, and all of those things have to happen when, you know, I know me and you were talking, I think this is a 1-year anniversary since you broke the record at Surace Smith. Is that right?
Congratulations.
With 140,000 in personal production for a month, right? 140,000 in personal production for the month. Like, in the industry, for people that are not in this industry, that would be like the equivalent of someone in football rushing for 500, 600 yards in an NFL game. On, you know what I'm saying? Like the equivalent of somebody hitting 5 home runs in one baseball game. You know what I mean? Like stuff that just it doesn't happen. You know, in the history of the company, you know, 70 years now, just not normal. So, you know, what things help? How do you make something like that happen, from the mindset to the work ethic and skill set to celebrate this 1-year anniversary of breaking that record?
Well, so yeah, it is true. I do have the current record in Ohio, and you know, I believe, you know, the company posted it. It might be one of the best ones in June in the 71-year company history as well. Which you know, most of the agents, you know, or average agents with our company, they do about 13, 14, 15,000 in sales for the month. So I actually did 140,000 in sales for 1 month. So definitely a big difference there. But what really made that happen is being surrounded by individuals that are top notch. So I actually had the opportunity to work hand to hand with the current record holder, Josh DeShong, within our company. So he was actually my upline for a short period of time. So I got to learn everything that he does. I got to see the work ethic that, you know, that he had. And that's the main reason why I was able to lock in. But I also play better pissed off, right? And so there was a record set in the company by, you know, Talan Bain on my team, right? You know, so he actually, what's funny about that is last year, the record was set 3 times from individuals that were on my team.
Wow.
So in the month of June, I had one of my boys, my brother Enzo, he actually broke the record that same month. In June, I just broke it with a little more.
Good for you.
So he did 120 some thousand. I did 140.
How does your
that's kind of like what happens when we sit on chairs sometimes, and I hear like a little crick.
It might be.
Like sometimes I break the chair.
Yeah,
but Perm usually breaks the chair more.
Yeah, a little bit more. We got to help him on it. You know what I'm saying? We got to lower it and all that. You know how it goes for short guys. Fine. Listen, for you, how does your mom feel about you know what I mean, having all that, you know what I mean, that $1 million from, you know what I mean, from 2005, and that, like how was that, bro? Like, I know your mom was like super excited. Like,
I try to hide it.
Like, no, please, no, mom, no.
No, I'm totally kidding. So yeah, so my mom actually, so I just had her retire from working, you know, so she moved to California with me, and she takes care of my beautiful daughter, Arias. And I told her she doesn't have to work anymore, and that's her, you know, her love. She wakes up every single morning. She's the first person to grab my daughter when she starts crying instead of my wife. So my mom actually moved in with me out here in Southern California, and I want to make sure that I always take care of her. And I don't ever want her to ever work another day in her life.
That was one of my biggest goals starting out, Mario, was to take care of my moms like that. Let me ask you, you know, when you look at, you know, like I remember being, how old is your daughter?
So she's about 14 months.
Okay. I remember being on the phone with you, talking to you about how you felt bad because your daughter was just born and you were hitting the road on a road trip and getting ready to be gone, you know, for a few weeks and spending most of the month grinding and working and not being there. And she was so young, and it was, you know, emotional. And I tried to encourage you, you know, telling you that I know that feeling as a parent, because, you know, when I leave home, even to visit Florida for 2 days, you know, I miss my daughter already. So, you know, I have empathy for that. but I knew that what you were doing, if you could still find, it's not like you can't do that every month for 5 years. You can't do that every month for 3 years. But if you had to do it for a month once in a while, I think it's the best thing that you could do with the gifts that you've been given was to sacrifice for her opportunity and to take your family to the next level. Somebody took you to this level, got you here. You took the ball and did well with it. Now it's time to go to another level to give it to pass it on to the next generation. And that's my mindset, man. So I think that's what people miss is they'll see the $1 million, but they won't see they're not willing to do what you did.
Right.
Okay, so it's like people want to do what I do, but they don't want to do what I did. People would like to have what you have, but they wouldn't want to have what you were doing. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Simon,
in order to have it.
My daughter, when she was born, she was in the NICU for 2.5 weeks, and at one point she was the sickest baby in the NICU. So fighting for her life, So she had 2 chest tubes, and she was, on all kinds of medication. And March, that's when she was born, March 21st. I wrote 70,000, that March in sales, and a lot of people, and that's personal production. My team did 500 and some thousand in ALP, which is how we measure our business. But so a lot of people that make excuses when it comes to family and things that are going on in their life, and they try to make that as an excuse as to why they're not pushing and doing things. But we don't. When we go away, we go away. We don't go away to be away from our family. We do what we do for our family. So that's the part where it's extremely important. That most people need to understand. So June. When I say I went through all kinds of emotional hell, watching my daughter and watching our daughter being taken away from us after having her for 3 hours and put in NICU, and my wife, I have a picture of my wife literally sitting in front of the actual incubator, and we couldn't touch our baby, right? Mm-hmm. So in June, I went to Wisconsin, working 32 different cities, being a father through FaceTime, being a husband through FaceTime, and leading my team. I was driving one and a half to 2 hours or an hour in between appointments, being away from my family. So my birthday is in June 25th. So my first birthday with my daughter, I spent it in a hotel in Wisconsin when my daughter and my wife was in Cleveland, Ohio. So that's one of the things that I constantly remember thinking as I'm driving to appointments. I'm like, you got to protect these families. You got to put all of these families in the best situation, but never lose the focus and motivation that you're not trying to be away from your family. You're doing everything, all the sacrifices that you're putting in for your family. And when I tell you this, Simon, I made over $150,000 in income in my pocket in the month of June. So at the end of June, I didn't look back thinking about how much I missed out. I look back thinking about, I'm glad that I put in the sacrifice, because now this is what I can do for my daughter. This is what I can do for my wife. I can make things a lot easier for them. So,
what I always tell people on the grind that, people really don't want to hear this, but when they ask my opinion, the older I get, the more real I'm getting to. Yeah. I mean, the older I get, the more I'm just keeping it all the way 100 as much as I possibly can. And when you start looking at people and, looking at what they have or what they do, and I start telling people what it takes is for you to miss your birthday. You should be working on your birthday if you're on the hustle. What are you celebrating your birthday for as a grown-ass man or woman when you're not where you want to be yet, if you got a business to manage? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like if I'm a professional boxer and I got a fight coming up in my birthday, like I'm not going to skip out and party on my birthday if I'm training to be a world champ. Like but what I will do is, I wouldn't miss my daughter's birthday. I wouldn't miss my wife's birthday. I would never suggest to people to miss their kid's birthday or miss their wife's birthday or even their mother's birthday if they got to do something for their mom. But your birthday?
Yeah.
Like that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer when you're coming up, grinding and stuff like that.
What I always say, Simon, and I think this is very important for people to really pay attention to this, because this is the part that if you get this right, literally you can change your life. People need to know their role, right? So one thing that I always pride myself on is knowing my role, right? So this is even taking it back to the driving days, right? So I'm not too proud. So as an individual, I'm never going to be too proud to, as soon as I achieve a certain level of success, most people that achieve a certain level of success, they want to market themselves so well to a point where they don't want to talk about their past because it makes them, look some kind of way, right? I want to, so here's what the part. You got to know your role. So when I was a driver, my role as a driver is to make sure that you, Marcus Smith, had a great experience, right? I wanted to make sure I got you from point A to point B safe, right? And I wanted to make sure that you had the best experience, absolutely zero stress.
Boom.
So as a driver, your responsibility is to have the owner of that car not have any stress. That's why they're paying you, right? So as a father, you have a responsibility. It's to put food on the table, right? As an agent, when we start with our company, we have a responsibility, which is to protect families. As a supervising agent, know your role. As a general agent, know your role. As an MGA, know your role, right? So you gotta know what what your role is, and from that point is play to your role, develop yourself. It's okay to have a vision and to want to get better, but you gotta execute your role first. So that is the part that most people just, like, they want to be this, right? So for example, most people want to be Simon Arias. Most people want to be Marcus Smith and Steve Jobs, but they're not doing what their role requires. So how are you supposed to be this individual when you don't even know your role?
Right.
So execute your role first, then you're eventually going to be promoted. So even when I was a toaster boy, I knew my role.
Right.
Butter on all four of the corners.
Don't miss that
and
corner.
jelly at the same time.
Right.
He ain't
You know what I
playing with that butter. He's passionate. Like,
That's
butter,
right. Come on, man. Butter.
all four.
All four sides.
Not
all four
three.
corners. No. Can't miss it.
What is that?
Is that? No way. Can't have that.
Mario, you the man, bro.
My man, Mario.
I appreciate you, man. This time, I don't know how long we've been on here, but it blew by. Having fun, dude.
Butter bread guy.
And,
I love it.
I just your story's awesome. I'm so proud of you, and I appreciate you sharing some of your wisdom and knowledge to help people out there. If this helped anyone out there, if you think there's anybody that can benefit from this, I know there got to be a ton of people after hearing your story.
Come on,
please share this with other people so we can impact people. And Mario, thanks for joining us on another episode of the Grindcast. Get ready, it's a new day.
Count money, man. Stack riches. Trying told him I'm a beast blood.